Good evening, everyone. I am Arzu from HeadStart. I oversee the international tracks here, and welcome to day 20 of Startup September. For those of you who are new here, Startup September is a month-long celebration of startup ecosystem by the startup ecosystem. So as HeadStart is heading towards its 15th year, we couldn't have thought of a better way to, celebrate this milestone with all of you guys. And today is day 3 of international tracks, and today we'll be discussing about the Belgium startup ecosystem. And without further ado, let me welcome our guest for the day, Mr. Dharni Dharan Shivaswamy. It's my pleasure to be interacting with you, Dharni.
Pleasure joining today.
I'll quickly introduce you for those of you who do not know. Dharni is a mechanical engineer currently working for Hub.Brussels Brussels as a foreign direct investment officer. He takes care of the inward investment from India to Brussels. He sees abundant potential with Indian companies to reach the global market and is always thrilled to interact with the Indian startups and MSMEs who have the potential and desire to scale up into the European market. Thanks for joining us today, and I can't wait to dive deep into the Belgian startup ecosystem with you. Dharni, we all know, that Belgian startup ecosystem is known for its chocolates, logistics, and manufacturing hubs. To get into a bit more deeper into the startup ecosystem there, can you, what's more to it? What do the people do not know about that makes the startup ecosystem there so strong?
First of all, thanks for having me on the stage. It's a pleasure meeting with all the startups in India, especially as you said, I'm really happy to interact with a lot of startups in India who are going global. They are not the conventional Indian companies. They are going global since day one. So I see a lot of potential. I'm really happy to interact with them. And coming to the work, what we do here. So I'm based out of India. As you said, I look after the FDI from India to Belgium. So I closely work bilaterally. So I also support the Belgian startup ecosystems who are willing to come to India, and then vice versa. As you said, Belgium is famous for a lot of things. Beer is one of them, which you have left out. They are if you drink one beer a day and then you can have different beer for 2.5 years. That's the wealth of beer varieties what they have in Belgium. So that's what I miss in India here now. And as you said, chocolates, diamonds, waffles, and whatnot. And then as this decade, with the startup unicorns and stuff like that, there's a lot of potential for the digital and the tech companies. As you know, a lot of funding happens in US and in Europe. So it's really organic for Indian companies to move to either, if they're looking near shore, they'll go to Singapore, Middle East, and then the next stop will be they'll be traveling to US, and then they think about Europe. I see a lot of paradigm shift now. A lot of Indian companies are traveling to Europe, especially in the tech and deep tech field. So I see a lot of potential in that case in Belgium. So Belgium, no company goes to Belgium just for the Belgian market. So you go for the entire European market. So that's where we position ourselves for the Indian companies, to attract Indian companies. To be put bluntly, I'm selling Brussels as a destination. I'm also a salesperson like the startup. So I'm here to sell, but not sell the moon. So I'm just selling whatever we can deliver and we will deliver. Yes.
Sure. So you have already mentioned quite a lot of sectors that Belgium or the whole of Europe is known for. Currently, it's seeing an all-time high in the fintech startup ecosystem, if I'm not wrong. Are there any more such sectors that Indian startups can build for if they wish to set up in Belgium?
Yeah, the 4 thrust sectors with what Belgium has identified for the next 3 years is, as you said, fintech and insurtech is the biggest field happening right now. It can include blockchain and cybersecurity in this one, and then AI, ML, it's the buzzword everywhere. And then especially when it comes to life tech and health tech, it's one of the key sectors. What Brussels look at, like post Brexit, like every country in Europe, in European Union is like moving like Indian startups to come and have their presence in either in Berlin or like as you had a session with Finland, like you will have sessions in Germany. So that's like every country is giving a lot of incentives. It depends on like the thrust sectors what every country is offering. When it comes to manufacturing, I know like Belgium is not really competent. Automotive or like textile, it's not like competent. But like if you are looking at having a front-end market office headquarters, I would say like it's interesting for those kind of sectors, but not manufacturing per se. We are not competent like Switzerland or Germany or like Italy for that matter. So when it comes to fintech, insurtech, health tech, and life tech, these are the four key thrust sectors what we look at. And then like IT and SaaS is one of the booming sectors ever since like late 2010s. So I would say these are the five key sectors like what companies can look at.
All right. So you are representing Hub.Brussels today. So let me, we have had quite an overview about the startup ecosystem there. So let me straight away jump to Hub.Brussels and would like to know from you what does, Hub.Brussels do in terms of supporting entrepreneurs, especially in India, now that we're talking about India and Belgian startup ecosystem.
So Hub.Brussels is an entity which comes directly under the Ministry of Brussels Capital Region. So for those of you like to give a detailed background, like Belgium is like divided into three regions. The southern part is the French-speaking Walloon region, and then the north is the Dutch-speaking Flanders region. And the Brussels Capital Region, it's multilingual, like French, Dutch, English, and minority German are there. So I work for the Ministry of Brussels. So we are based on every single country wherever like the Belgian consulate or the Belgian embassy is there. So there will be people like me, and then a Belgian diplomat will be sitting, who will be looking after both invest and export point of view. So it's more bilateral to do with. And we represent the Brussels businesses in India, and then we try and help every single query when it comes to like say for example from visa issues to understand more about the trade differences, to help them attend the like pre-pandemic we used to help them attend the expos and fairs, which we are not doing it anymore, but like that's what we do here in India. So in India, like we have a consulate in Chennai, so that's where I'm based, and then we have a consulate in Mumbai and as well as the embassy in New Delhi. So which covers like Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka. So that's what like Hub.Brussels do.
Okay, I hope the in-person expos and everything starts soon, and we are able to see a lot more Indian entrepreneurs go there. So you already have mentioned some of the sectors that Belgium is looking out for, or quite advancing at the moment. Is there any particular sectors that Hub.Brussels is currently focusing on?
So we are sector agnostic, like for sure, like we are sector agnostic. We don't because like for the services what we provide, it's free. Like there's no star attached to the there's no condition supply. Like what we look at is like I see the companies like pre-pandemic. I used to travel a lot inside India. Once in a year, like we used to travel to Belgium to meet the clusters in Belgium, and then meet like some of the key stakeholders in the European Union. What I look at is like I look at the company's portfolio, and then like it doesn't matter like if they're like really early stage company or like whether they are like backed by a bigger VC. Like we don't like differentiate like much of the startups. What we look at is I don't want to push. Like I see a lot of companies like who come forward, like they want to have like in the business card, like they want to have like 4 or 5 different locations across the world. But I don't necessarily push every single company to have a presence in outside India. Willingness is one thing, and then potential is another one. And then I don't want to burn their cash by pushing them. Like even if I send 100 companies in a year, like my salary will be the same. Even if I send last year, like there's 0 companies went to Belgium, my salary is the same. Like I can happily stay till my retirement age and retire from this one. But I'm just looking at the business plan, like potential, like the business plan for them. And I want to have a clarity from the startup founders to identify like who will be the competitors, who will be the customers. They know their product and services better than anyone else. So that's what we look at. We are sector agnostic. We have like travel startup companies. We have helped in the past. We have like Dr. Reddy's is one of the biggest conglomerate we have helped already. Like Dr. Reddy's chairman, he is the honorary consul general for us in Hyderabad. And then like we have like quite a variety of portfolio of companies, like from 2% company till like Tech Mahindra. It's in Belgium. I think like there are 800 plus employees in Belgium. So it's that much varied. So we don't discriminate based on like the stage of the company or the size of the company. So
it's purely based on potential more than anything else.
yes.
So do you guys also help service-based startups or companies, so to say,
Yes.
without tech involved?
No, without like for example, like any like we will be having Anish for sure in like in quite a few minutes. We don't discriminate about like the service-based companies. Like service-based companies, I would advise like service-based companies. There's a catch for the European market. You have to be GDPR compliant. That's where like they will face a problem sometime in the future for service-based companies. For product-based companies, it doesn't matter. Like, so if they are near and the customers, it's better for them. For service-based companies, like borders doesn't matter. So you can easily build from Bangalore. Like instead, you don't have to necessarily be in Brussels to build to the customers in Germany. So I would advise for them to like clearly identify the path, like where they want to go. So it's easier that way.
So you also mentioned that it's completely free to move there, and the kind of support that you guys are providing. Would like to emphasize on that, and maybe we could go a bit more deeper into the benefits that startups get when they enter Europe through Hub.Brussels.
Like the service what we provide is free of cost. Like anyone can apply for the services for us. So they can just drop me a message on LinkedIn, or like they can go to the Hub.Brussels page, and then they can easily find the email. They can just fix a meeting. I would like to meet them in person. In like maybe in 3 months we can start like meeting in person. And then the package for like post Brexit, like pre Brexit, like in 2012 or 13, like if any Bangalore based company, if they want to go near their European customers, like they don't have to think twice. Like, they can easily go to UK, start a company in London, sit in London, and then try like reaching out to the customers in Europe. But like they can't do it anymore. So they have to be present in the EU member states, either it's in Belgium or Netherlands, Germany, or like even for that matter, Estonia or Latvia, Lithuania. Either of the 28 member states they can choose from. What we like, every single country is having like different incentive programs. The USP for Brussels is like we are giving a trial package for the Indian startups. They can apply for the trial package. We call it as a ticket to Europe. So it's a 3 month of trial package in Brussels. So in these 3 months, they can, if they apply for the program along with the portfolio and the business model, we screen them, and then we provide them up to 3 companies. We can up to 3 persons in a company. We can provide a multiplicative business visa for 3 months. They can travel to Brussels. They can sit in our office space where we have like at the moment we have like 12 seats free for the Indian companies. They can go there without like registering a company. They can start working from Belgium. Look at the market, and then look how welcoming the market is. Like instead of opening blindly without like, if I'm based in Coimbatore, like it's a tier 2 city. If I want to open an office in Mumbai, I don't necessarily sit and open just from Coimbatore. I would make myself go there to Mumbai, spend a couple of weeks at least, get the vibe of the city, and then like start looking at the real estates and then how to recruit and everything. It's the same way. So I advise like the Indian startup founders to travel themselves to Brussels, take this 3 month of package, go there, sit there. They can't bill their customers in this 3 months of time, but they can easily meet the potential competitors. They can give us a list of companies. Okay, like they can say, okay, like Dharni, these are the list of 30 companies which might be interesting for me. Do arrange a face-to-face meeting with them. So I would introduce that company as a potential Belgian company to the companies across Europe. It's not just like confined to Belgium. It can be in Norway, it can be in Finland, it can be in Czech Republic. So we initially bypass all the doors and then get a seat at the decision-making table. So it's up to the companies in those 3-month period to convince the customers or convince the partners in Europe to get a final approval. So after 3 months, if they can come and say, okay, like Dharni, this is not the market for me. Germany is offering way better incentives for me. Belgium is really conservative for me. Like there's no strings attached. Like there's no contractual obligations to open an office like after the 3-month period. It's just a mere trial phase period. And we are sure that like no one will need a 3-month period to evaluate the market. They can get the vibe of the city in like maybe like 5 days. They can spend a weekday and a weekend in Belgium, and then they can decide for themselves. And plus, like it's really close to all the European centers. For example, like if you want to travel from Brussels to Paris, it's 1 hour 20 minutes by train. It's not really far away, like 1 hour 50 minutes to London by train. And then there are like 25 to 10 to 25 connections every single day. So they can travel from Belgium, meet their customers in London, and then they can be back by evening. So it's even like less traffic when it compares to Bangalore or Mumbai for that matter.
Got it. Yeah, I agree on the traffic part. So you've more or less covered how to apply for the program. It is by basically emailing you or visiting the LinkedIn page of Hub.Brussels. Is there any other way, any other portal that entrepreneurs must check out, or is there any step involved in in the process? Would you like to highlight on that?
So, like how Brussels work is like there are a lot of clusters. For example, for a company, if they are in software, so I would urge them to approach the software.Brussels. That's a cluster for, especially for the software companies. If they are in life tech, there's a different cluster for that, like lifetech.Brussels. And then if they want to meet just the generic people in the startup ecosystem, they can apply, they can contact startups.be. That's a different cluster. So there are like a lot of different clusters. So we are a single point of, I'm not a system expert. I'm more of a generalist. I don't necessarily know every single offer for every single sector. Like what I can do is like, I'm more of a facilitator. So I can easily direct them to, okay, like this is the cluster if they want to work. For example, like the companies who work on UN Sustainable Development Goals, I know like there are 3 clusters in Brussels who can potentially help them, even to raise funds to even to meet potential investors in Belgium. So there's a cluster called Green Biz and then a Green Lab.Brussels. So there are like different ecosystems and different clusters, but we are the single point of contact. So they can easily contact us, and then we can easily put a direct meeting with the responsible person in a specific cluster, or we can easily give them a list of, okay, like these are the step-by-step procedures what they can go through, and then I can already share like the testimony of the Indian investors already who are in Belgium, so they can get a hang of how Belgium is, and then what Brussels can offer different than any other European Union country.
Got it. I think with this, I have come to the, we have covered everything that one should know about Hub.Brussels and the support that they are offering. So I will quickly pick up a few questions. We have quite a lot here. One which we have not covered yet, of course. So you have spoken a lot about, why one should move to Brussels and the good side of it and everything. We have a question here about challenges. The possible challenges to start business in
Okay. So like I studied in Europe, like I did my bachelor's and master's in India, and then I went for a PhD, but I ended up doing my MBA. So I spent like close to 3.5 years in Europe traveling. So the cultural aspect is never the same. Like European Union is like entirely diversified. It's like you travel like 30 kilometers and then you see a different food, different drink, and then a different language. So that's one like key, like I don't say it's a real challenge, but like it's one aspect of like the European customers. They could easily be like, they look at like, if I talk to a Polish customer, like I would say like, if I don't know the culture, I would say okay, like they are really cold, and then they are really like not easy to work with. But like that's not the case. They're more like the South Indians. So it takes that much bit difficult, like the first in few interactions, to build the trust. And then once they establish the trust, it's like it's free flowing conversations, like, and then the work culture is different. So we have to acknowledge the differences. Like we have our own differences within India. Like from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, there's the cultural shift, and then the language differences, and it's the same. Like Europe is not the same. Any single country in Europe is not the same. Like every Indian company who are traveling to Europe, like I would advise them to like have a not a detailed research, at least have a bird's eye view. And then when it comes to funding, the challenges in funding, like I know like there are a lot of Indian companies who applied for funding. They don't get funding like what they get in US. So the basic token funding will be like 200,000 to 250,000 euros. Like that's the starting funding. It's not like the big ticket funding. So it's not like the big money, free money like in US. So it will take a lot of convincing to convince the investors. I know like this is a big red flag, but like this is the practical ground reality. So they can't like go the first day and get a funding like close to like €1 million in funding the first day. It's still very early stages when it compares to the US market. So how to acknowledge that? Like, that's one of the key. Those are the key challenges the Indian startup founders will face in Europe.
Got it. It's more or less the same in every country, I guess. Every big country has this issue of different cultures and adjusting to it. All right. Thanks for that. One last, I mean, we are running short of time. We have Anish also with us. So I'll just maybe pick up one last question. So you mentioned about the 3 months trial phase. Are there any cost? I mean,
yes, the cost involved is like we can't incentivize the travel, and we can't incentivize the stay. So, and end of the day, like if they party on the weekends, it's still not covered. So it has to, the company has to like bear the expenses. So I can give them an invitation letter. They can go to the nearest VFS, and then they can get the visa in like 3 to 5 days. Provided like they're vaccinated now, and then they can easily travel. The other aspect is like they don't have to pay for the translation services. They don't have to pay for the accessing the databases. So the amount like what they are spending for the travel and the accommodation, and then traveling within Europe is like a real fraction of what they will gain after the 3-month period. So that's what like the cost involved. Like they don't have to pay anything for the ministry or to get the invitation letters. There's no consulting fees involved with this one. And yes, like they have to pay for the visa. So it's like the processing fee, like €48 for the visa. I'm not really sure, like after the pandemic, like how much they are charging. But like the consulting fees point of view, there's zero cost.
All right. I think with this, we'll have to cut it short here. We have quite a lot of questions coming in. I would suggest you all to maybe ping Dharni on LinkedIn. If I will also drop his LinkedIn profile in the chat, and I hope that's okay if people reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Definitely. Like I'm happy to interact with a lot of people, like in any early sector. But like the big corporates, they don't need us. Like big corporates, like they don't need the service of the process ministry because they can easily go to the big four and then get their location sorted. But like I'm more concerned about the early stage startups and then the SMEs. So they can't afford to burn that much cash to identify like where they want to go and how they want to move their strategy. So I'm happy to interact with any startup founders in the forum.
Sure. Thanks, Dharni. I think we've covered everything we wanted to, and this makes it quite easy for startups to think about, expanding to Europe. Now, I would like to welcome Anish and would want, Dharani to take it forward from here with Anish. Thanks for joining us today, Anish.
Thank you, Arzu. Pleasure is all mine. And first of all, I would like to thank Head Start and also Brussels Invest and Export for conducting such a wonderful meeting. And thanks for inviting me.
It's our pleasure.
Nice to have you, Anish. And thanks for moderating the event, Arzu. Yes. Looking forward to work with you sometime soon.
Same here. I will maybe step aside for you guys to have a chat and come back later.
Yes. So it's going to be more informal. So hello, Anish. Welcome.
Yes.
Like it's been a long time I met you in person. It's been a really long time I met you in person.
Absolutely.
So to introduce Anish, so I know him from 2017 when I joined the agency. So Anish has an entity in Europe, and in Hyderabad he's having an entity called Namaste Europe. It's a travel B2B company, and then I would ask Anish to introduce himself to the audience as well. A little few words to introduce Namaste Europe and what you do in Europe as well.
Yes. So I'll make sure like I only tell the things which Dharani missed out, because he has given me a wonderful introduction. Thank you. So I'm Anish Phukat. I'm actually the CEO and founder of Namaste Europe. You will see my position as a business development manager in my visiting card. Don't worry for that, because I actually have classified myself as the BDM in our Indian office. So we have two offices in India, one in Hyderabad and one in Cochin. Cochin is now the sales hub and the operations office for our Namaste Europe office. Don't worry, you will hear some crows over here. Sounds, we work very close with the nature, Right. So Namaste Europe is actually an entity which is a B2B supplier. We are a B2B supplier for travel agents and tour operators around the globe. Our product is Europe, and we can be called as a DMC, a destination management company, or a land operator, or a B2B supplier for Europe. To make it precise, we help the travel agents to arrange their tours in Europe, and they outsource our itinerary to selected clients. So we have clientele in India and started from India. We have now clientele in Middle East, and we also have clientele in Africa now. And our Belgium office is our hub for Europe operations. So we started up in Europe in 2016. So the relation with Invest in Export Brussels is since then. So this is what Namaste Europe does, and we do have some more projects coming up in the future, which we had as a different vertical when we started up. So we were supposed to start by 2020, but due to this pandemic, we couldn't travel and we couldn't kickstart this. But we are definitely looking forward to kickstart our new projects very soon.
Okay. So you have already have a company in Europe. So what's the decision? When did the decision happen of you thinking about having an entity outside India to pass on the information to the budding entrepreneurs, like the startup ecosystems in India? So what was the key decision when you made to move outside India and have a base in Europe? So
right. So to give you an introduction about Belgium and my relationship, I've been working in Belgium for about 5 years. I was working with a Belgian company, and I was located in Belgium for about 3.5 years, and then still 2 more years I was working with them. I'm basically from a hospitality background, and I was working there for 3.5 years since 2010. So my relation with Belgium is about 11 years already. And then again, 2 more years I was working with their Indian office as the HR and manager. So when I had this idea, we were working about this idea about 2.5 years. Ever since I was working, I always wanted to do something myself, and so when I had this idea, and I was very sure that we wanted to have a presence in Europe, so we were only chaotic about which is the country to be started. So we were very clear that we should have a presence in Europe, and the only confusion was about the place where to start. So that is when we decided to contact Brussels Invest and Export. So why we would have an office outside India is that because our product was Europe. We were selling Europe, actually. We were selling Europe, and in Europe we sell India. I mean, we sell India. We sell India as a tourism product, right? And like I told you, many other verticals, we work with the top Fortune companies like CTS, TCS in our new project, which is actually long stay rentals and short stay rentals like service apartments and things. So even in that, we needed to have a presence in Europe, and the communications and the operations will happen from our Indian office, and rest everything will be taken care of from the Europe office. That's what the idea was. So we were very clear that we should have an office outside India. But the only part we were confused was about where to have it. So that's when Brussels Invest and Export came to us as a savior.
So what were the other countries where you're looking at apart from Belgium? Like, what are the other countries, if you can?
We had, to be honest, we had Netherlands, we had in Idea, we had Germany, we had France. Everything was in shortlisted, and of course Estonia, Budapest. All these were there. So we were also working with other people to find out like which one would be better and more fascinating. I mean, more you know, reliable or more productive for us being a business.
So like you spoke about the support like you received from Brussels Invest and Export, like it was the past agency, like we rebranded to Hub Brussels. So how was the support like you received, like what kind of support, like before like registering and during the registration process, and after registration, what was the support you received and how happy were you?
Okay, so when we decided about this, I mean, when we were confused about these countries, we contacted each and every country. So we were analyzing the tax part, the cost of payrolls and everything. Call it anything. We were looking, of course, the real estate cost and everything. So we had a direct communication with Kathleen, who was actually the Trade Commission that time in 2016. I think we started working with her from 2015 end because we were on the idea of just finding out which country to launch. And then 2016 is when we decided we will start up in Brussels. So when you call, I mean, when I recall, the days before registration was really funny because I had a direct meeting with Kathleen because we had to sort out a few visa issues and paper things. And because I was like earlier like an employee and now I'm actually becoming an employer. So we had to sort out these things. And in Chennai, I still remember like we had a direct meeting with Kathleen, who's the Trade Commissioner and the Consul General. So think like you being a startup person and they're not even sure like whether you'll be starting up in Brussels, but we could definitely meet the Consul General and Kathleen over the phone. We fixed an appointment and then we went directly to Chennai and we met them. So that was exactly one thing which I could evidently say was support from them. And I think about like more than 100 mails was there, which is a communication between me and Kathleen regarding the tax part, call it anything from scratch, because we are actually a startup which started from real scratch, just an idea and we built it up. So basically these were the things which we had, and then they also gave us the registration agents who we can rely on. So they were just giving us the contacts and who are registered with Brussels Invest and Export. We could call or talk to them. Each person we had at least like 10 to 15 people who were registration agents. So we could filter it out from all the contacts they gave, like who is giving the best code and what is the service, because the code was literally secondary for us because we are starting in a new country. Of course, we had support from Brussels Invest and Export. Apart from that, we wanted to have a credible one, credible registration agent. So code was secondary. So we were just figuring out like whom to go. So when you call about like a registration agent or an accountant, we had like 10 to 15 contacts from them, which we could sort out the best one, So that was one thing which we got before the registration part. And Kathleen was like always available on phone. I mean, the whole team was available on phone. And when we decided to go, Dharmi was saying it takes about 3 to 5 days for the visa, but literally it took 1 day for me to get the visa. Of course, I had the travel history before. But still, when you have an invitation letter from Brussels, it does matter a lot. And they will directly let the embassy know in Mumbai. And so it doesn't take more than 2 working days, I believe, like it wasn't that time before the COVID and things. So it never took more than 2 days. And even now, during the registration, we could directly go and meet the peoples in Belgium, who are the part of Brussels Invest and Export. The only thing is like we didn't take the incubator because we were literally ready to register. So before going to Belgium for this registration part, we were filled with all the informations. So we had the real plans, like what we are going to do in each day when we reach Belgium, because our first visit to register the business was about like 1.5 months. So I had to travel like 12 countries. So everything was like we planned it. So the first thing which we did was like we went there and we registered our company. So the thing is like it will not be possible if there was no help from Brussels Invest and Export, because otherwise you have to go there, find out your suppliers, do this, find out the registration agent. There are a lot of paperwork. You know it very well when it is also like in India when you register a company, and when it is like abroad in Europe, it's a lot more riskier and it's a lot of work. So we could directly go. The third day we registered our company, we did the paperwork, and we started our plans accordingly. So that was another thing which we had a service from the Brussels Invest and Export. And after registration, I can still tell you, just now, Dharani told it's been like a long time we met. So you can think like 2016 till now, the relationship is still there, which means we are getting a very good service from them, because for the new projects, we are also discussing with them, we are just finding out their collaboration with Brussels Invest and Export and those things. And even now, when I have to travel and my visa expired, I can just give them a call, apply for the visa, give them a call, and then it's done in one day. So these are the things which we can get. And of course, when you have more real estate changes, because when you have to change your office, which is of course sometimes it comes in when it's in your scaling up stage, you can directly contact them. They will have very good contacts of the real estate people who work with that, and lawyers and accountants, because we had a payment issue with one of our clients in Africa, and we could figure out that in Africa there is one agency from the same team, Brussels Invest and Export. So Kathleen, I think it was Kathleen or Jeff that time, they gave me the contact of the person in Brussels Invest and Export, which is in Africa. So it was easier for us to find out a lawyer in Africa and file a case against our client, in Africa, sitting in India or in Belgium. So
that's one like really a good advantage for like having in Belgium. It's like the trade commissioners are like posted across the globe. Yeah. So if you're a Belgian company, if they want to go to South American market, like they can easily contact the trade commissioner in Brazil, and then they can easily reach to the South American.
Exactly. Because it was really cute, because I had to just contact Kathleen or Jeff, the trade commissioner that time, and they routed me to the African agency, and we could easily find out a lawyer and start filing a case, and we could recover the money. So it was like really cute.
Yes, and then like the most questions I get asked from the startup community here in India is like when I pitch Brussels as a destination for them, the first question is like about the linguistic capabilities of the Belgian the work people, and then the cultural aspect of cultural difference between India and in Belgium. So when it comes to language, like how difficult was Belgium, or how easy was in Belgium?
About what? What was the last?
For the language, for the language point of view.
All right, yeah. So that is one thing also which was attractive when we decided to start with Brussels, because I'm really sure like we can make it like a bit interactive. So how many in this attendees know about France? How many have heard about France? I'm sure like at least more than 80%. Yeah. Definitely Germany, the same. Netherlands, the same. So I think when it comes to Belgium, it will be a smaller part of the of the community or the attendees who are here. That was the best part, The lesser you have more opportunities out there, because Belgium is famous for diamonds and glass and many things, but there are many things which we don't even know. Think about one thing, like when we think about the Hindi movies, everything is shot in Switzerland or Amsterdam or something, but we had just one movie which was like shot in Belgium. Like very recently it came, not very recently, but it was like when you compare with Swiss, it was like decades late. PK is the movie which came. So think about it. It's a tiny country in between all these other countries, which is not really known, which means the potential is untapped. So that's a good opportunity. So when you think about the linguistic issues, of course, I was there, and I'm actually a level 2 scholar in Dutch. But when I was reaching there in 2010, I didn't know only English. So it was never a problem with us to communicate or to have a discussion with them. And of course, when you're going on an aspect of launching a business, we have the support of Invest in Brussels and Export, which is really appreciable, because almost everybody over there speaks English except the whole community. Of course, they could understand, but they cannot talk. But when you go on an aspect of a business, business trip, it doesn't matter. And the best part, which forced us to choose Brussels, is that when you go to France, because we have a tourist company which will be dealing with the clients from Africa, Middle East, and India, so they should know English definitely. And we have suppliers all across Europe. So we tried to do it in Germany, so the people could speak, or a majority of the population could speak only German and French. Sorry, German and English. When you look at France, they could speak only French and English. The other way in Amsterdam, they could speak Netherlands and English. So in Belgium, the best part is like Dharani told, it is divided into three parts, regions. One is German speaking, Dutch speaking, and then the French speaking, right? So the best part with Brussels, or most of the peoples in Belgium, is that they are trilingual. They can speak all these three languages plus English. So that was really fascinating. It's more like, employing one person in France, Germany, and Netherlands. Instead of that, you can put one person in Belgium, so they can speak all three languages and plus English. So our problem is solved. That was one best part to do it. And we do have our staff, and I still speak with them in English. I mean, I don't speak them with them.
Oh, like me neither. Like I'm in Europe since like 2013, but I can't speak any other language apart from English.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually a scholar. I've been there for the studies. I mean, I did study the language, but still I speak with them in English. To be sure there are no communication issues with my business. So I mean, language is never a barrier. We never felt like it is a barrier in Belgium precisely. And like I told you, it's basically a gateway to Europe. You should not just think about the market in Belgium, but it's very easily accessible to other countries, and we can also make it as a gateway to Europe. So that's what we wanted. And like I told you, like the people who are over there can speak like 4 languages, including English, which is like absolutely good. So major part of my supply path is covered because they speak all these languages. And the other part from my clientele is also resolved because they speak English. So, and nevertheless, I survived to stay there only with English for like 3.5 years. So don't worry. And I'm just running the business for 5 years over there. So it doesn't matter.
And one last question is what would you say for like the aspiring entrepreneurs, whether they're like really early stage or matured company? Like, what would your advice be for the Indian startup founders? Not necessarily who are willing to go to Europe, like generally, like if they want to venture outside India, like whether it's US, Canada, or like North Africa, matter, like what's your key advice for the Indian entrepreneurs?
I think we should literally go outside. We should have a presence outside the office, because India is of course emerging, and that is actually the next market which is coming up, and we could definitely have an office and production office of hub over here. And when you compare with Europe, the expenses of production, because even in Belgium, I will not recommend any companies for the production or something to go and do it there. But when you think of a sales office or a gateway to Europe, that is the best place. When you compare the production cost, I'm correct, I think, Dharani. For the production part, yeah, even they will not recognize, because even if you go with a business plan of production, they will not say like it's the best place. That's true, because we have to consider the expenses and everything. So when you have a potential product in India, for example, like an IT company, which has a wonderful product, can definitely pitch in Europe, because when you have a sales office in Europe, your credibility is different, and the possibilities of getting more exposure or possibility of getting more credible clients are very high, because literally it is very much evident in our case, because the sales part or the credibility which we had from getting an office in Europe, and before getting an office in Europe was like literally different. And the other part is like we are also having an office for another vertical, because like I told you, like we have this long stay rentals and short stay rentals planning up in Belgium very soon. And we also work with the travel agents in Europe, which was another vertical which was supposed to start in 2020. Again, due to the pandemic, we have just postponed it. So we literally wanted to have a business hub in Europe. And the other thing, like I told you, like getting an office, I mean, apart from India, is like the possibilities of getting more clients and more exposure. Because until or unless you are a matured company, like for example, Infosys, they can just go down and they say like, we are from Infosys. They can literally understand the company because of the credibility and the long term of experience they have. But when you compare a startup, who doesn't have to shell out a lot of money, you can definitely take this kind of countries, which is absolutely a gateway to Europe, and get more exposure and clients, and increase the credibility for your company. Of course, there is no point in just going there to get your credibility done. But the monetary part is that when you have this more kind of business and clients over there.
Thanks, Anish, for joining us and then sharing the experience for the audience. And really appreciate you joining today. It's been a really short notice for you.
No problem. And adding on one more thing, because even Belgium, when we started up, this is actually the second country we are having the office, and I could literally say like this is just a beginning, because the vision of Namaste Europe for our travel company is to have presence in 50 countries, which is like 25% of the world. So this is what our long-term vision is. So like I told you, like first country which we launched after India was like really supporting for us. So we are now shortlisting few countries and potential countries where we can start. Because you can see in my card, probably Azerbaijan was another country which we decided to start, which is not yet live, again due to the pandemic situation. So that will be the next country we'll be launching. And the vision of our company is to have presence in 50 countries where we could give quality travel and quality tours and hospitality for people across the globe to these countries where we have the presence in. So you're not knowing the company by name, because since we work with the travel agents, but when you talk about the chains like Akbar Travels and Alpin, that other companies, they're all our clients, and they take the services from our side. So I mean, when we talk about the our clients, you will know about our company, because our company's name will not be known to the end travelers, since the travel agents are our clients. So it's basically, since we are a B2B supplier.
Okay.
Right.
So all the best for the future plans. We'll meet sometime soon in Cochin, like maybe in the
right. Definitely. Just give it
Thanks a lot for joining. Yeah.
Thank you, Anish, and thank you, Dharani. This was indeed insightful for those of you who want to start up in Europe. And folks who have any questions can reach out to Anish's mail ID. It's mentioned there, and also put it in the chat. But thanks for this. Thank you for joining us today. And with this, we come to the end of India-Belgium Startup Ecosystem, day 20 of Startup September. I hope to see you guys again, maybe have a deeper conversation around the same topic. And yes, that's all from our end. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks a lot for hosting us, and then thanks Head Start, and then all the very best for the upcoming days.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you, Team Head Start, and thank you, Brussels Invest and Export. I hope I could give an insight for some budding entrepreneurs, and anyone who needs any help to start up, or and to establish your business outside, for any kind of doubts or something, you can call me or mail me. Of course, for the technical part, we have Dharani and his team. So anything for the budding entrepreneurs, I'm always there. If I could be of any help, I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Perfect.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Also, Aarti has this question that if the recording will be available, it will be live on our YouTube channel soon, and it's also live on Facebook, so you can catch the session on Facebook on our page called Head Start Network Foundation. With this, I will end today's session, and thanks to everyone who joined us today.
Thank you. See you. Bye.